Hey everyone, welcome to the Nintendo Prime podcast. I almost just said Zelda Informer podcast because I just recorded this and edited it earlier today.
Nice.
But anyways, no, welcome to the Nintendo Prime podcast.
Woo!
Episode, I wrote 12. It's actually episode 13.
Oh, yeah.
Did not have an episode last week technically, but we did do a live pre-show for the Switch event and did do a reacts. So we kind of doubled up, and we were really tired and had other things going on. And I had to do other stuff at Zelda Informer, so it just was a lot of work.
And then I had to actually go to work.
Yeah. So I am your host, Nathaniel Ruffle Jansen. This is, as always, Mr. Eric Moore.
Hell.
We are changing up how things are working with this podcast. Now, if you're listening to the audio version, it's not going to seem too different outside of the fact that it's a little bit more organized. I don't know if people realize at this point, we were 3 months into doing the podcast, and we kind of just wing it every time. We're going to have a lot more organization moving forward. And that's because for our video viewers out there, which I think we have more people that watch us on YouTube than on our Podbean or iTunes right now. We are going to now split up the podcast into segments for every single day that we have segments for. I want to say every single day of the week, but like today we have 5 segments, so there will be 5 videos in a row starting on Monday, which is when we used to post the podcast. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Weekends off, which is basically around the time we're recording the next episode, and then we're ready to go for the next week.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about news, sometimes we'll be behind the curb. But it is what it is. That's what you get with the podcast. That doesn't mean we can't ever do another live reaction show or something like that if some big stuff lands. But again, it's based on our availability, so we'll see what happens. Let's just get right into it. This is our first topic, and it's a doozy. Got this whole, it fills up this entire page. But we are going to talk about the Switch lineup. In particular, is the Switch lineup good enough? Okay. So what does that mean? Well, is it good enough to be successful? Does it please you? So there's a lot of ways to look at this. What is on this page is a whole bunch of games. So first, let's just look at what the launch is. Okay, for launch in the United States, we will have 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, Breath of the Wild, Skylanders, Imaginators, and Super Bomberman R. All right, so that's what we have for launch. So you have 5 games. Beyond that, in March we have Snipper Clips, I Am Setsuna, Has Been Heroes, Fast Racing. I forgot it's like It's like a remix of Fast Racing Neo on the Wii U. In April we have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. In summer we have Splatoon 2. Getting back to games that we don't necessarily know for sure. For spring we have ARMS, Puyo Puyo plus Tetris, that little intermixed puzzle game. Rhyme, Sonic Mania, Lego City Undercover, Dagia 5. In the fall, we have Skyrim. And then we have a whole bunch of games that are slated for 2017 without any idea when they're going to come out, which means probably over half these games are going to get pushed out of 2017. But that's just the way it goes. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Rayman Legends. There's a subname to it, but it's just a remastered version of Rayman Legends from Wii U. NBA 2K18, we know that's probably landing around the time the NBA 2K lands every year. Steep, FIFA, again, going to land around the time FIFA always lands. Street Fighter 2 Ultra, Minecraft, both the full game and then the story mode. Those are technically 2 separate games.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's just how Minecraft did it.
Yeah.
Project Sonic 2017, which is their new full-blown console Sonic game.
Yep.
Farming Simulator, Siberia 3, Dragon Ball, Xenoverse 2, Fire Emblem Warriors, and Super Mario Odyssey, which we know Super Mario Odyssey will be a holiday title. Beyond that, because obviously that's just in 2017, we have a whole bunch of TBD titles. Some might land in 2017, some might land in 2018. We really have no idea when these titles are coming out. So we got 1001 Spikes, Arcade Archives, Blaze Blue, Cave Story, Cube Life, Derby Stallion, Dragon Quest X, Dragon Quest 9, 11, something like that. 11. I don't know if I wrote it down right. That's why I'm questioning myself. Dungeon of Czar, Fire Emblem, and this is the full console Fire Emblem game.
Okay.
Just was unveiled a few days ago.
Nice.
They did a Fire Emblem Direct, and I know it's 3 Fire Emblem games. It was crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, so yeah, this is like they're doing a full console game exclusive for Switch. Kingdom, Master Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, New Frontier Days, No More Heroes. We assume it's No More Heroes 3. Shin Megami Tensei, Oceanhorn, Project Octopath Traveler, Redout, Seasons of Heaven, The Sacred Hero, Spelunker, Shovel Knight, Stardew Valley, State of Mind, SteamWorld, and Yooka-Laylee. So that sounds like a lot of games, but it's a lot of indie games. So in total, there are 58 games so far announced for Nintendo Switch. By the time you listen to this, maybe there's a few more. Indie games are seemingly being announced all the time. In 2017, right now, we have 32 games slated for 2017. That's not bad. The Wii had 30 games at launch. I mean, the Wii U had 30 games at launch. So, like, 32 for a whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, what Nintendo is trying to do, what they claim to do, what they claim they're trying to do is get rid of the droughts and have their games more spread out. So I did a breakdown here, and this is how I determined it, because there's a lot of ways that you can look at whether a game is an indie game, whether it's a B-tier game, which a lot of people think B-tier games don't exist, but I'm actually going to give a nice explanation here for why I think B-tier games are back, and what qualifies as a B-tier game.
Okay.
So AAA games are obviously, those are the big budget, games that companies spend typically a lot of money on, and are usually considered the top quality games out there. So, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And then the B tier games are going to be games that are made by AAA publishers, but aren't what you would consider a AAA game. To give you an example, 1-2 Switch. That would not be considered on par with the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, no.
But it is made by Nintendo's first-party studios. So it is made by a AAA developer, a AAA publisher. So that's an example of a game that would be considered a B-tier game. For all I know, you might end up loving 1-2 Switch more than Breath of the Wild. To me, that seems crazy, but maybe you do. But this isn't about what game you prefer. It's just about the level of money they are spending on it. And then, obviously, everything else would be indie games. So I hope that makes sense to a lot of people. So from what I added up, I kind of did the math. There are 12 AAA games in 2017, which that's not too bad, one every month.
Yeah.
But then you got to consider what the games are. So Breath of the Wild is the only one I counted for at launch.
Yep.
I could consider Just Dance a B tier. I considered 1-2 Switch a B tier. Skylanders, I thought about maybe throwing that in there. I'm not 100% sure. In fact, if I look at this final number, I might have counted Skylanders. And Super Bomberman is technically like a remake of an old game that's been remastered. And
remake of a remastered.
Yeah, it's a long story. It looks phenomenal, but again, I would consider that to be a B-tier game. And sorry, Bomberman fans.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of the way it is. In March, the rest of March, none of those games looked like AAA to me. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, again, a remaster of a previous generation game.
Yep.
Yeah, there's new content, but again, it is technically a AAA game. Splatoon 2, I'm counting that as a AAA game. I think last generation I debated on if Splatoon should be a AAA game, because it was made on the side by a small team at Nintendo. And now it ended up getting a AAA budget in terms of advertising. They went all out advertising the game. But the game itself was really cheap to make. But I think because that game has succeeded as it has, and now there's a sequel coming out just like a year and a half later, 2 years later, I think now Nintendo's going to start treating it like a AAA franchise.
Yeah, for sure.
It made a ton of money.
Splatoon 2,
I don't know. It might be like the one game on Switch that made on Wii U that made a ton of money.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think Splatoon might not necessarily be a quote-unquote AAA game, but Splatoon 2 is almost gotta be.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Splatoon has the quality of a AAA game. It just was clearly made on a budget. Now they know that it's a popular game, especially in Japan. It's huge in Japan. So it's not the type of, it's like Mario Kart. It does not need $100 million budget or something, but it's at that AAA quality where budget's not going to be a reason this game isn't good.
Right.
And then I'm counting ARMS for now. It's a AAA game. ARMS to me is almost like the Splatoon of last generation. It's a brand new IP that we just don't know.
Right.
But we found out since that event last week, ARMS is being made by the team behind Mario Kart 8.
Okay.
So
interesting.
That seems like a team that made a AAA game. So it's not some side team at Nintendo. This is one of their main teams. So I'm going to count ARMS for now as a AAA game, and we might turn out that it's wrong. Maybe it's really shallow. There's not a lot to it, and it's a low-budget game.
Just
but
remastered kind of.
But from what I've heard, everyone says there's a lot more to the game than what you think. So
updated Wii.
And it's a fighting game. every AAA fighting game from Nintendo doesn't have to be Smash. Like you can do other types of fighting games.
Yeah.
So that was the only game I counted from there. I counted Lego City Undercover. I know some people are like, that's a AAA game. Yeah, Nintendo funded it. Lego games are a big deal.
Yeah.
And they're made by legit AAA studios. So
yeah.
The problem is Lego City Undercover again is a remastered port of a Wii U game.
Yep.
How
about Sonic?
Sonic Mania. So here's why I didn't count Sonic Mania, and it feels weird because back in the day, obviously all the Sonic games are
AAA.
But here's the thing. Sonic Mania is a remaster with additional levels of old Sonic games, which it looks absolutely fantastic to me.
Yeah, that does.
But again, I don't think that's the A team. That's not a high budget game. That's a B tier Sonic game today. And I hate saying that because back in the day, this is AAA.
Oh, for sure.
But not today. Today, Project Sonic 2017. That's a AAA game.
Okay. Yep.
Again, it's really hard because a lot of people say the B tier is gone and it's just indie and this, but like there's clearly a quality difference between like a game like Sonic Mania and a game like like Breath of the Wild, and clearly a difference between those two games than say, 1001 Spikes. And this isn't an insult to any of those games; they're just made at different budget levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I count Sonic Mania as a B tier. And then over the Skyrim, obviously that's counted as a full game again.
Yeah.
A port of a game from
it's
5 years ago. Technically, we don't even know for sure if it's the remastered version.
But it is a port of a AAA title.
But again, you'll start noticing a trend here with these AAA titles. Ports.
Yeah.
Ports.
Right.
I think so far I've said 2 new AAA titles.
Yep.
Breath of the Wild and ARMS.
Yep. Technically. Yeah, if you want, depending on how you count ARMS.
So anyway, for rest of 2017, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I counted. NBA 2K18 and FIFA, counted. Those are obvious.
Yep.
And that might have been, Project Sonic, Fire Emblem Warriors, and Super Mario Odyssey. I wasn't sure on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 because I don't know enough about it.
Right,
that might actually be a AAA game, but I personally do not know enough about that series. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm sure now that you go back through it, that wasn't 12 or whatever. I don't know. My number kept changing. You can see, you kind of debate, but you kind of get the gist of it. This is what we're getting in 2017. With a bunch of these games in 2018 being mostly indie games with some stuff out of Square Enix and Nintendo. Again, 2018 so far out now that just this list of games I'm okay with.
Yeah.
For 2018. Because we're going to find out more of the bigger games at E3.
Yeah.
Essentially. They have a lot of time to give it. The fact that we already know there's a Fire Emblem game coming, there's Dragon Quest games coming, Seasons of Heaven, that's probably going to be a 2018 game. Ooh, and that looked fantastic. Ukulele is landing this year. I assume it's going to land this year on Switch, but they haven't confirmed that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of titles that are coming, and how do you feel about this lineup? Just went through it, besides Zelda. Zelda's why we're getting this Switch.
Right.
What excites you?
I think the biggest thing that's exciting me so far is the Super Mario Odyssey. That looked like an absolutely fantastic game. And it
but that's it?
Back. Well, I mean, for the biggest game.
Well, I mean, because it's like Breath of the Wild. Wait 10 months.
Yeah, no, Mario Kart 8.
Months.
I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I played a little bit of Mario Kart 8. That was fantastic. So,
sure,
that's gonna fall right into there. Splatoon 2. I played a little bit of Splatoon. So,
well, so the big criticism about this lineup is that one, for the most part, gamers in general, when they're trying to justify a purchase of a console, they don't care about indie games. They don't care about B tier, like Snipper Clips. That would be a B tier game. It's made by Nintendo. The game looks fantastic. A bunch of these indie games and B tier games look fantastic. But in general, that's not why people buy consoles, because those games are typically, outside of the games like Snipper Clips, available on everything. So, like Sonic Mania is on everything. You don't need to get a Switch for it. So does it add value to the Switch by it being there? Yes, but it only really adds value by it being there if all these other games that are multi-platform are also there. Yeah. So this gets into the lineup and why people don't think it's good enough. Is that from Zelda to Mario, there's Splatoon 2 and ARMS for new games. We've played Mario Kart 8.
Yep.
It's got new content, but we've played it. Skyrim, it's 5 years ago.
People have played it. Yeah.
It's 5 years ago, and the
Definitely.
remastered version's already released on all the other platforms. Now, granted, Skyrim on the go, yes, there's appeal of it. And yeah, there's Xenoblade 2, which a lot of people think is going to end up getting pushed to 2018. Project Sonic 2017 might suddenly become Project Sonic 2018. Again, these things are unconfirmed, so all we know for sure is that Zelda and Mario are coming out, and then a couple games in between that are new. And the big criticism back in the Wii U days was that the game is that basically it launched with these 30 games, and then it released Lego City Undercover in the spring, which was really bad because it was like 4 months until you got a new game. Yeah. And then it was literally like 6 months before we got another game on Wii U, and it was Pikmin 3.
Yeah.
Like there was these huge breaks, big droughts, and Nintendo has come back where the drought won't be as bad because you go from, if you ignore the ports or the remastering of older games. So if you go from Zelda in March, you theoretically could have Splatoon hit in June. Mm-hmm. That's a smaller break.
Well, you got the spring though too with ARMS and
yeah. Well, yeah. So you got ARMS. Say ARMS hits a month later in April or whatever, and then you have Splatoon hit in July. June, whatever. Yeah. It's summer sometime, and then you have 4 months after that you have Mario. Yeah, you're not getting that 6 month gap, but you could still argue that there's 3 or 4 month gaps there between major releases. And the thing is I'm not mad at Nintendo for this per se because Nintendo is only a single company. They can only make so many games.
Yeah.
And in between here, they're remastering Mario Kart 8, and stuff like that. They got snipper clips they got coming out. And all, they're working on all these other things. But I'm a little concerned that the lineup's not good enough because they just don't have it doesn't feel like they have the third parties really on board with this thing. Mm-hmm. The third parties I do have on board are either ones that have annualized franchises with NBA and FIFA, and God knows if we're going to get a game. Those franchises were there on Wii U, and then they vanished after a year. Yeah. So who knows? If we're really good, and we didn't even get good efforts for those games. So you're right. Who knows if those games are even going to make it? If we're good, it's good news if those games are going to be there every year.
Right.
But no one believes that's going to be the case.
Mm-hmm. You don't believe it once you see it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I look at this list of games and I'm like, Zelda and Mario is enough for me. I'll be playing Zelda for the next 6 months. That's just how it's going to be.
Definitely.
But is this enough for everybody else? And I just don't know if this lineup's good enough.
Yeah, I can definitely.
At least this year. Yeah. I mean, maybe they're going to keep the hype going because part of me thinks they're going to pull a PlayStation 4. And to give you an idea how the PlayStation 4 does things, and Kyle Bossman from Easy Allies actually put up an episode about this, about gumdrops in the forest, and how they keep dropping these gumdrops to lead you to the gingerbread house. Mm-hmm. And the gumdrops are basically the promise of games. Like, it's more exciting to the lead up to games than games actually coming out. Mm-hmm. And that Sony's a master of this. Because, yeah, Sony's got all the third-party games and all this stuff, but all the exclusive games are supposed to be the reason you buy a Sony platform.
Right.
They're years away when they announce them. Years away, but they just keep dropping more. You have no idea when they're coming up. They just keep dropping more, keep driving the hype. And the PlayStation 4 didn't really get a big, successful, critically acclaimed exclusive game until almost a year and some months, almost a year and a half, after the system came out. And before it hit that 1.5 year mark, it had already sold something like 20 million units or something crazy. But, they also had things like the promise of The Last Guardian and the promise of Uncharted and the promise of, new Dark Souls game. And they had a promise of all these games, but no idea when they're coming out. Yep. And then they just kept dropping more and more and more games. Like, even now, PlayStation fans have so many more games to look forward to. And Nintendo tried that, I guess, with the Wii U when they announced Smash Bros. When they announced the Wii U and then Smash didn't come out forever. But that was one game.
Yeah.
And part of me is critical of that strategy because I feel like, games shouldn't be announced till they're ready. But then it's like, well, if you don't have enough games to be ready, how else are you going to hype people?
Right.
So I wonder if that's what Nintendo's going to do this time. Yeah, we got some games. It might not be necessarily the most impressive list in the world, but the thing about the games we already know. All they said is that there's going to be a new Fire Emblem game to Switch in 2018. Mm-hmm. That's a year, maybe almost a 2-year tease for a Fire Emblem game.
Right, but I think that's a decent tease though. But you got to come through with it.
That's like Sony's going to come through with it. They have the reputation of coming through. It's not like Microsoft, who this upsets me. They announced this game called Scalebound in conjunction with Platinum Games, and it's looked fantastic every way around. You train a dragon, you get to ride it, you get to do all these cool things, and then it's amazing. Like I'll show you some gameplay clips later. It is beyond my imagination, and it just got announced like a couple weeks ago. It's canned. It's been in development for like 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one
and that's the thing you risk
this.
with announcing things ahead of time. But it's like if they announce, oh, there's another Zelda game coming to Switch. You know, they announce it at E3. Well, okay, yeah, Zelda. Obviously, there's a new Zelda game coming.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some fans are like, well, maybe they should have just announced the Metroid, even if it's 3 years off, because we just want to know you're going to make another Metroid game.
Right.
And it's one of those things that I wonder if the only way I can basically see the Switch gaining, there's two ways I can gain momentum with it. Based on this lineup, I don't see a lot of momentum here. But two ways I can gain momentum, I guess, is either pulling the Sony and doing the promising things that are years away, which maybe they're saving that for E3 because they didn't want to get into it now because they already have enough promise for years away now that that it's a little early to have even more things. But E3 is like 2 months after, so they could get into it then, or they are waiting to basically unveil they're going to be releasing a Pokemon game on the system every year, because that's what really drove 3DS sales. Was like, here's the new Pokemon game, here's the new Pokemon game, here's the new Pokemon game.
Right.
And Pokemon games sell, 10+ million copies, and people are gonna buy the system when you could only play the new Pokemon game on Switch. Which again, we don't know because they said they're supporting the 3DS. There was a new 3DS Fire Emblem game announced, so who knows? Maybe the 3DS is going to keep going.
Yeah.
And we're never going to get our console quality Pokemon game that everybody in the world wants and thinks is going to happen with the Switch. It's not going to happen. It's just going to be like, oh, we're going to make a new Pokemon Sun and Moon 2 for 3DS and port it to the Switch, and it's just the same game.
Yeah.
With, higher res textures, but it's just all sprite stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, but again, I don't know. I don't think the lineup's good enough. I think it's good enough for me, but I'm also a Nintendo fanboy, so it's like, you got Breath of the Wild. ARMS will probably be fantastic. Oh, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, heck yes.
Yeah.
Splatoon 2, I'm there. Xenoblade, well, I probably don't have time, but I'll pick it up.
Yeah, right.
NBA 2K, FIFA, they announced a Madden. I am golden.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, it's good enough for me, but the Wii U kind of had almost a better lineup than this, and it wasn't good enough. So I just Sony's console sold itself on hype and promises. Xbox didn't have the hype, didn't have the promises. They delivered games, but it didn't work as well. Mm-hmm. Nintendo Switch is trying to sell itself, I think, on the hype. I think it's sold out right now because of hype. If you look at Japan, they had lines of like 130 people at their stores to pre-order this thing. It's sold out within minutes.
Yeah.
It's sold out in the United States now. It's sold out pretty much everywhere that's available, which isn't a surprise.
No.
Consoles sell it all the time. It doesn't mean that, like, the Wii U almost sold out before launch. It doesn't mean it's going to be successful. The key thing isn't launch, because launch you have early adopters like us. It's going to be, who's buying it in summer.
Yeah.
What's going to keep the sales going, which Splatoon 2, they hope.
Yeah, that'd be,
But, again, one game. It's like, if you don't like Splatoon, then there's nothing for you.
Right. That's the one complaint.
Like, I like sports games, so I'm like, yeah, NBA 2K18, that's awesome. I love sports games, but if you don't like sports games, then there's just Mario and nothing for you in the holiday. If you don't like Mario, then...
Yeah.
And I think that's the advantage the other consoles have, is because they have all that third-party support. It's not so much that it means a lot for sales in that, oh my god, exclusive games, like I can play this game on all these other platforms. It's that you get those exclusive games plus those other ones. Mm-hmm. And that's what the Switch needs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This lineup doesn't have it. Good enough for me.
Well, me too. But I can definitely see where people would come across as it not being good enough for them. To me, I think I would have liked to have seen maybe one more bigger title at launch. And then, maybe nothing that's going to be probably topping Breath of the Wild, because that's going to be hard to do. But just a slightly bigger title at launch, and then and having more games than just Splatoon 2 coming out, at least guaranteed. Like a bigger, couple game. I'd like to see a couple big games come out like every so often.
The thing is on other consoles at least, with their games, it feels like a big game's coming out like every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some months in the year big games come out every week, but that's more towards the holidays. So it's kind of, it would have been nice to see, like, yeah, they have, Breath of the Wild at launch, but then Mario Kart 8 hits in the middle of March. And then at the beginning of April, you hit Splatoon 2. And then, I'm saying for like an ideal way of doing this.
Right,
now, and then you throw ARMS up, in the middle of April. Now, obviously, the thing is you got to have enough games to keep that going, which, again, Nintendo does not have enough games in their own.
Well, yeah, they need third-party support.
But again, maybe that's just me. I guess we'll move on to our next topic. I think we're kind of, we could talk about games all day. Overall, we're both satisfied, but we also are people that are really busy, don't necessarily have the time to play games like when we were younger.
Oh, yeah.
We'd be done with Breath of the Wild in a week. I don't know what to do.
Right.
But, nowadays, we don't have that kind of time. So this kind of release schedule works for really busy people like us, but a lot of the people that are in college and have all this time, like they might not be good enough. We'll see.
Yeah.
Do you guys think this lineup's good enough? Let us know down in the comments. All right.